Is so strong. Three, two, one.
Is there anyone here that would like to communicate with us?
Putting a dip in your hip, a glide in your stride. Welcome to the mothership, the home of the travelers of the universe, with shows throughout the week. Everything you want, everything you could need. From the paranormal to the supernatural, from the spiritual to the unknown, from emotions to comedy. You can find us at Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and so much more. This is R.I.F.T Nation Network, the RNN. And now, your featured show. Shall we begin?
Happy Monday, everybody. How are you? I'll wait till everybody gets into our lovely chat. My name is Joni Skinner. I am your host, and you are watching Mysteries Beyond the Scenes, where we take missing persons cases, mysteries, homicides, and I combine forensic astrology with clairvoyant clues to assist families in solving mysteries, missing persons, homicides, and that's what we do. We also do mapping. That is brought to you by the famous Kirsty McIntosh from Australia, who is the absolute best forensic astrologer in the business. And so let everybody get into the chat. Hey, Keith, how are you? And just a quick shout out to Keith. Following the episode tonight, I will be joining Keith on the Otter's Den for What's Up with Astrology this week. One of the royal stars we're going to go over, and Keith can remind me if I'm missing anything else. Oh, and the full moon. So if anybody else is not feeling this Mercury retrograde, I'm usually the one that says no. It doesn't affect you. It's a time to review, revise, relax. I am getting so smacked by Mercury retrograde. It's not even funny. It's almost starting to be funny. Hi, Tammy. Welcome tonight to the show. Keith, my friend Keith, the famous Scorpio. Like I said, we will be on after this show at 8 p.m. Eastern, the Otter's Den. So as soon as we conclude here, stick with us, go get an iced tea, go get a drink, and join us back for what's ahead for the following week. On R.I.F.T Nation, we bring you live shows every Sunday through Monday. On Monday nights, we have Mysteries, True Crime Night, as well as the Otter's Den with Keith following this show. Tuesdays, Raven's Flock with Susan, who does readings, Celtic healing. She reads energy. With Susan, it's a different guest, a different show. It's all about spirituality, and readings. She does great readings too. So join her on 8 p.m. on Tuesday evenings. And then this Saturday, The Outlaws with Keith, Renee, and of course the hitman, Howie O'Dell. And who is your other, and Keith can let me know the other outlaw that joins them. Jimmy, right? I think. Okay, so join them this Saturday, and Love Shack for romance on every Saturday at 11 with us again. So, and if you are interested, please go to the RNN Jim. I called him Jimmy. I'm sorry. It's Jim. And please, if you're go to the RNN Facebook page, hit like on there. You can get information on our shows. Also, we have a private Facebook group, the Travelers of the Rift, where we have giveaways, updates on shows. That is a private group. So you get, go in and put your information down, and then you will be admitted to the group. And also, I know the slots are filling up on R.I.F.T Nation all week, but if you do have an idea and would like to have a live vidcast, please get a hold of Howie the Hitman and give him your show idea. He's great. Susan, the producer, will walk you through it. I had never been on radio before, and this is going on my 3rd year with R.I.F.T. And we are a family. So if you have a show idea, get with Howie. Hi, Renee. Hi, Keith. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for sharing out, Renee. I hope everybody's having a great short holiday week since we're all off on Monday. Hopefully, everybody's off on Monday. I will not have a show next Monday due to Labor Day. So just keep that in the back of your mind. The case that we're going to go over tonight, and the reason I picked this case is to bring a little bit of light, not only to DV cases, but to also go over the fact that there are times in a DV relationship when it's very, very stressful and the most dangerous time. And unfortunately, our story tonight, she was at that time when she was breaking off, moving out. They were getting a divorce, and Madison had 2 small children with her soon to be ex husband. Again, this is the dangerous part of a DV relationship. So if you know anybody that's in a DV relationship, keep eyes on them. They're going to have to leave on their own accord. However, you can see the red flags as well. You can try to keep them as safe as possible. I know it's difficult because they do get into a violent, vicious circle. And like I said, when we do have friends that are in DV situations, or we've been in a DV situation, you can talk to someone till you're blue in the face, and they will not leave until they're ready to leave that particular situation. And also, we need to remember the signs that if you're out at a gas station and you see somebody and they give you the hand signal, whether it's a child, possibly with trafficking, or a woman in a DV situation, it's the palm up, the thumb comes in, and the fist goes down. So if you see that, get a hold of the police immediately. Don't step in. Don't try to whack the guy over the head or the girl over the head with your purse or anything. Just get a hold of the police. But that's the universal signal that has saved a lot of people. So I picked Madeline's case for a couple of reasons, because it's been very recent, March 31st of this year. Not only that, but I wanted people to see how the astrology and the mapping played out after we received all of the facts and Madeline was found. You're going to be astonished at what the astrology told us and what the mapping showed us. The mapping never fails. I know when I talked to Michael, and many of you know that Michael has been a guest on our show. He's a friend of Mysteries for 3 years now. He's been on our show. He told me, he said, this is like the 6th case this year that, excuse me, that we've solved due to forensic astrology mapping. That is how important it is to search and rescue groups that really don't have an answer. We don't know how the astrology works, but the map will take them directly to that person. And another thing that was interesting about Maddie's case is the fact that he was a true crime person. Her ex-husband was a true crime person. So he knew a lot of, like her phone was wiped. He knew how to do different things to not be traced. But due to the due diligence of the police department from Winoma, Minnesota, Maddie's killer was brought to justice and her family was brought to justice. So that's cool, Keith. Thank you. But it's just there's a lot of reasons why I picked this case, and you're going to see it's very, very interesting. So Renee says work calls on Wednesday, school starts. Oh, a lot of schools have started already. Oh, and another thing, welcome, Lois. Another thing for everybody, any of my friends that are in Florida, and I've already texted you because that's how I do. The full moon this week, and Keith and I are going to talk about it at 8, is not only a big moon, it's gigantic, but it's a full moon, but it's in Pisces. Now, Pisces is the ocean. So I text my friend who is in Florida at 8 o'clock this morning, and I said, it's going to be huge. And that's when they were saying tropical storm. Well, how did I know that? Because it's a full moon. The tides are high anyway. In addition to that, it's in Pisces, which is water. So if you're in Florida, take this very seriously from an astrological standpoint. I would take this very, very seriously. So that's just my little Weather Channel hit for the night. So let's get on with Maddie's story. I think you're going to find this case, it's so very sad. Maddie had 2 children, 2 small children, and now their father is in jail, and Maddie was murdered. So this is a very, very sad, sad story. But I think it's important to bring out that DV is alive and well. And I know we don't talk about it a whole lot anymore because there's so many other things going on, but we can't forget about if we do have a loved one or a friend. And of course, we all know when a loved one or a friend is in this situation, in a DV situation, all we can do is try to reach out and help them. We can't force them to leave, but we should know and even warn them when you're getting ready to make the split, you make the split and you do not let that person in your life or around them until after you know that you are indeed safe. So everybody just be aware of that situation and know our sign. If you're out and you see somebody, get the police. So let's talk about Maddie this evening. I'm going to pull up her. Again, I have to have kudos to the police department of a small town in Winoma, Minnesota, because without their efforts and without the efforts of the town that showed up for 69 days to look for Maddie, they painted their town blue. Balloons, signs, flowers, everything was blue for Maddie. It was ongoing support that really Maddie was found, and their family at least can begin to heal and get some closure in her disappearance. Now, the slideshow tonight, I'm pretty sorry about this, but this is definitely, when you see the slides, it's a Mercury retrograde because I reviewed them before the show and I'm like, why did I do that? I never do that with slides. Oh, Mercury. I'm going to blame it on Mercury anyway. So, and good evening, Mr. Hitman Howie Odell is in the chat with us. Hi, Judy. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. And if you're, because we're on Restream, to get on Facebook, please, wait, let me see. It'll scroll down because if not, we can't see your name on Facebook. It just says Facebook users. So please click the hyperlink for name to be seen by the host, which is me. Hi, Miss Patricia. So get on that hyperlink and tell Restream, hey, it's okay. And welcome, Miss Patricia. Patricia, again, is our forensic astrologist extraordinaire. That's my friend. We do cases. She's phenomenal. I'm going to get her on here one night with cases too. Hi, Susan. Welcome, everybody. So Maddie's story begins in a small town in southwest Minnesota, a very small town. And this is her story. Again, it was the swift, and I know Tammy is in the chat as well. And Tammy does search and rescue in South Texas with horses and the canines. And Tammy will agree to this as well, that the police have to be on top of a case immediately for search and rescue and They have to be on top of cases immediately. Too many times, Tammy and I have seen cases where they won't take the missing persons report. The Winona Police Department took the missing persons report on Maddie the very first day when her best friend called and said, "Hey, my best friend has not reached out to me today. This is very unusual. She's going through a divorce with her husband, and there are DVs. It's a DV situation." The police jumped on it immediately. And that's what it takes. And I know Tammy is going to say, you're right. Because 2 cases in a row, we have seen them solve when the police were involved and very, very involved. And when you see what they did in this case for a small police department, it's phenomenal. So the excuse of it's a small department, we only have this many officers, no, it's not going to work. So let's get to the beginning of the slides, and I'm going to show you all exactly. I know I did it backward, and I'm just going to say it's Mercury retrograde. And Keith's going to go, "You're the one that says you shouldn't blame it on that." And I do. But so here we have Maddie's case where New York Post, Minnesota mom, Madeline Kinsbury, missing after dropping kids off at daycare. So and this is the chief of police. Just, I know, Keith, funny. Yeah, busted. He's going to say, I knew you would say that too, because it's true. I'm the one that's like, don't use that as an excuse, Keith. Stop. And here I'm using it as an excuse. But it's true. And once again, here's their Facebook page, Winona Police Department. If you want to go back and look at some of the facts of the case when we're finished, you can get on their Facebook page. See, look, Patricia, Mercury Retro just cut me a few minutes. Couldn't connect to R.I.F.T. Dang. And Tammy, so true, Joni. Too many times they drop the ball. They do. And I know that it's very, very frustrating for our search and rescue Earth Angels that go out there in such horrific conditions and volunteer their time and effort, and so many times just don't have a lot of the support that they need. Okay, that's just the event chart, which you all are familiar with now. We're going to come back to that event chart because I'm going to give you a little bit of the story of Madeline's situation. Now, like I said, her best friend called the police and said, "Hey, I haven't talked to my bestie all day. This is not like her. She's going through issues with her husband, and her husband told her at one time, you're going to end up like Gabby Petito." And as we all know, in Gabby's case, what happened with Gabby. So he was obsessed with the Petito case, and he was also a true crime person. So he went, and you're going to find out in the course of this case what the police uncovered with him trying to cover his tracks. But due to their work, he was unable to do so, and they caught him. So they went over to the house, Kingsbury's house, the police did, and no one was there. It was 6:30 that evening. The van was in the driveway, but no one answered the door. So the following day, Madeline's mother and sister went directly to the police station to report that they still had not heard from Maddie. And they reportedly, Maddie told Fravel earlier in the week that she was going to continue with plans, that she was going to stay in Winona with the children. They were going to stay in their daycare. So everything was going pretty much status quo with the divorce. Officers learned that Kingsley had also told the best friend that Fravel said, if you don't listen, you'll end up like Gabby Petito. The officers also spoke with the daycare provider, and they said that Kingsbury and Fravel is the ex-husband, dropped the children off together Friday morning at 8 o'clock. Now, Maddie's sister said the last text I received from Maddie was at 8:15 in the morning. I text her again at 8:23 a.m. and did not hear back from her. So the last text, and Patricia's going to say, oh my gosh, it's a timestamp. Because with forensic astrology, when we do an event chart like this, it's not a natal chart, we need a timestamp. So I used the timestamp of March 31st at 8:15 a.m. So I had a phenomenal timestamp to go by. Our astrology is only as accurate as the information that is given to us. So immediately, I'm going to read, we're just going to look at the chart briefly. Immediately from the calculations in the 8:15 call, I got 36 miles. I got 23 miles and 13 miles. And you're going to see how important that is when I show you the mapping. Remember that 23 miles and 36 miles. The 13 miles is the degree of the ascendant. The 23 miles on the bottom of the chart is the degree of what we call end of the matter, which is the fourth house. That tells us this is the end of the matter. Maddie is in that house. So I would say to anybody, this homicide occurred in the home. Maddie is, it was very quick. Again, Uranus again is involved. Now, when Uranus in the first house, which is right in front of her, when we see a loaded first house, like over to the left, the very number one house, they were confronting their perp. They were right in front of that person. So this murder also it occurred in the first house. And we also, Patricia notes, the fourth house is also called the grave, as it shows circumstances prior to a person's demise. And it's also, we refer to it as the womb, home, and the tomb. So that fourth house gives us a lot of information as astrologers. It's an important house. So once again, head injury with Algol, which is the demon star, pops up again. It popped up last week as well. So Algol is in the picture. So for right now, without me knowing anything, I would say in the home, throat injury. She confronted him. It was quick. And through communications, which is he is connected to communications with Neptune. The police are going to catch him because the 10th house always refers to law enforcement. So right now, at the top of this, I would say the communications and the video communications, the police are going to catch him. And she is hidden. How do I know she's hidden? Because there's a loaded 12th house. Communications are going to uncover where she is. So that's what I would look at. Occurred in the home. And another thing, the perp, which is the suspect, drove a short distance because he shows up in the third house. It is connected to Neptune, which is videos, which is communication. It's the communication end of it. 10th house, Pluto, death. Law enforcement are going to be successful in solving this crime. You know, if I were doing this for a family, I certainly wouldn't say law enforcement are going to be successful, solving this crime because, we just don't know that for a fact. But they did solve it. So it's nice to come back and then go through the chart and look at everything. And that's how we as astrologers learn, by patterns. Astrologers work on patterns and we work on history and patterns. So that's what the chart would tell me. So we would take all of that information that was in the chart And I would do what's called mapping. Now, this is all done mathematically by bearing and degrees. It's all math and the computer has to do it, or I probably couldn't do it. As you can tell, and what I'm going to read to you all, look down at the red mile marker is 23 miles. When we look down farther, we've got 36 miles. So exactly what the chart said when I mapped it. She was found at the 23-mile marker, that little red 23, and 36 miles is where he was arrested. That was his parents' home. And that line would have taken us right to where she was. Now, the line over to the left was an area where a neighbor videoed him with a shovel. They thought it was a shovel on the ring camera or the home camera. That was another property that his parents owned. The blue dot up at the top is where they lived in Winona. And it's like Keith says, you cannot make that up. You can't. Sorry about that, guys. But the mapping completely, and of course, when you see a map, there are 8 to 9 other lines. But because we know the outcome of this particular case, with Maddie's case, we know the outcome. I thought it was very interesting that the 23-mile marker is where she was. And they had previously searched that area. So did he move her? We don't know. We'll have to wait for the trial. But again, he was arrested at exactly the 36-mile marker, which was where his parents lived. And like I said, the top marker is where they lived. So, and this is the full scale map right there. Okay, that just gives more areas of interest. But what is very interesting is, okay, there's the city. That's where she was found, the city of choice. When they spoke to the ex-husband, this is the town they decorated it blue, the area. So what is funny is, and I'm going to give you guys the timeline of what the police uncovered that coordinates with the mapping too, that you kind of saw the mapping, you saw what astrology can do to help search and rescue, and the accuracy, and Patricia can attest to this, the accuracy of the astrology mapping is phenomenal. And this is how Kirsty taught me. This is how Kirsty has taught Patricia. She has taught all of us, and she freely teaches all of us. And it's an ongoing learning as well. And as we uncover cases that we can go back and study, I will share this case with the group of us that all learn and work together to help families and to help solve, because it's what Kirsty is there for, families. That's what we are all there for, families. So it's a great tool for our search and rescue people who and I'm sure Tammy can say they will take any help they can get when they're out there with their little animals. And it's like, God love her, she's in South Texas, is 106 degrees and the heat is just down on them. They work their tails off. Now, what was funny on the day, the timeline, let's look at the timeline of what the police came up with. Now, this is all done by, guess what? Communications. The police went through the phone and cameras to build their case. Where did we see that? We saw that on the event chart. The police were going to find him via Neptune because he was driving and he was caught on camera. So at 9:44, the van was in the driveway. Remember, Maddie drove the van. But guess what he was doing? Mr. True Crime himself. He was taking the license plate off of his car and putting it on the van. And he moved the license plate of the van to his car. So he flipped the plates. So if anybody saw him in the van, they're going to have the wrong license plate. So Mr. True Crime thinks he's sneaky, doing this in front of a camera. Now at 9:47 a.m., law enforcement saw him reinstalling the license plate onto the van. At 10 a.m., the van was no longer in the driveway. At 10:02, he was observed at the gas station getting gas, and the plates that were on the van matched his car. They did not match the van. So at 10:31, he was back in the driveway. Now at 10:44, and I'm going to go back to the map. 10:44, if you can see that the line that goes straight down by the 23, the van was spotted on camera traveling southbound toward Mabel. Mabel is the 36 line, which is where his family lived. At 11:59, he was spotted southbound between Choice and Mabel. So what did he tell the police? He told the police that he had filled up the van, was taking it to a storage unit with his parents, went to Choice, and turned around because he had the wrong items. Okay. So at 12:47, or my bad, 11:59, southbound Highway 43. At 12:47, he was caught on the van traveling northbound back up to Highway 43, back up to the house. So at 1 o'clock, he was spotted again turning east to head to Winona. At 1:28 p.m., the van was in the driveway. So, as you can tell, the police basically knew he was up to something, although he said he was going to the storage unit. And then they caught him. The plates were then returned back to the proper vehicle. So after that, the police spoke to him again. And of course, the story was always the same. But the neighbor over to the left, where the family had the other resident with the other blue dot, the neighbor put up cameras and saw him on an ATV, and it looked like he had a shovel. Now, like I said, we don't know if he moved her. And I know, Tammy, if you can answer this as well, people, and as horrific as it seems, people do move people when they hide them and they commit an atrocity such as a horrific homicide. They move them. When the heat is off the area that has been searched, they will then take the person back to where the place had already been searched, thinking that law enforcement was not going to search that area again. So it would not surprise me in the least that he moved her again and again, in the course of the 69 days. And when people would go to search, he would run them off the properties. He apparently did not, attend any search and rescues. And what happened is, how was she eventually found? How did the police department eventually find her? Well, from the cell phone information and from the video cameras, an officer went back off a gravel road, and they had heard that his family, it was an abandoned property, that his family kept up with the maintenance of that area. So through due diligence of the police department, that's how they did find her. And again, she was wrapped in a sheet. The police had noticed that a sheet had been missing from an air mattress in the home when they went in to talk to him. So the police did a phenomenal job. He was subsequently arrested without incident. And so we're going to have to watch this trial closely. Again, it's a very sad, sad case. But I thought it was very interesting to go back to a case where we have all of it's basically solved. But what would we have done had we not had any of those clues with the police? Well, we would have said, go to the 23-mile marker and look around, follow that line. And, sure enough, she was in that area. And also, there would have been a clue at the 36-mile marker. Now, that may have just been showing us that, hey, that's, where his parents live. That's where you might find something else. We just don't know. But also, there was a clue at the parents' other house where he was on film on the ATV with a shovel. And Tammy is right. They must have been right on it. They did a phenomenal job. They did a lot of press reports. And like I said, because of this due diligence, he has been, he's been arrested. So we would have sent, Tammy, I would have given her this map and said, Tammy, check that 23-mile marker. Check in that area. Well, that's also a big area. So it's very difficult for search and rescue. Well, that's easier said. It's a line on a road. Now, where do I go? It's a big, wide open area. Well, like we would look at, is this in Cancer, which could be a stream or a water? Pisces, the ocean, water. Aquarius, where the earth and sometimes water can meet. It could be a mine where minerals are. So there's a lot of different things that we can look when we get down to where search and rescue are really going to use our maps. We really dig into them a lot deeper than this to really look for a location. Saturn usually indicates body. Pluto can indicate where a body is located. And just when you think that, it could be Pluto or Saturn, Mars will end up being in the line of Mars is where the body will be. So we just don't know, and again, that's that takes practice, and that's what we all get together and study and constantly learn. Right, Patricia, Cancer's the shallow water, Pisces the deep water. So we would look for clues if they're in water. And every time I look at a map, I'm usually like, why are they in water? And why is there always a truck? Because that's how it always seems, that they're always in water or there's always a big truck. And I don't know why. So what I did with this, what was funny is I thought, well, I'm going to look at Maddie's natal chart. And I'm going to put the two together like we do on the Love Shack. So if anybody wants to know about synastry, that's when we take a partnership, put them together like one chart, and we compare notes. And it talks about, that's what we do that's what I'm talking about on this. That's what I did. So on that day that this event occurred, unfortunately, astrologers can never, ever, and I repeat this, they cannot predict death. Astrology does not predict death. But we can see when a chart is either triggered or there's a lot going on, like when we did the chef's chart a couple weeks ago, that, the Obama chef chart, that chart was hot. There were many things in there that could have triggered anything that would probably not have, things probably would not have gone well. Does that predict death? No. But what it would say is, well, circumstances aren't real good right now. And that's kind of what happened on Maddie's chart. she, like we've always said, and Patricia and I have always talked about this, when the 22 degree shows up in an astrology chart, Patricia and I just cringe. Because when 22 shows up, nothing good ever comes out of a 22nd degree on an event chart. Now, a lot of people have that on their natal chart. Please don't look at your natal chart and say, oh my God, it's a 22. No, we do event charts. So there's a big difference. So if I look at Maddie's natal chart, now again, a natal chart is what she was born with. I did not have the time, so I use noon, but it can give us kind of an idea of what we were looking at. And Uranus, which is the planet of shock and awe, it can be unexpected. Whenever we do forensic astrology charts, we talk about Uranus, and Keith and I laugh about Uranus is usually always involved. It's very quick actions. It's when an accident occurs very quickly. It can also indicate suicide. Uranus also indicates a suicide. So on her natal chart, where her placement of Uranus was, it was exactly conjunct on the event chart of Pluto. When we see Pluto as forensic astrologers, 5 times out of 10, right, Patricia, it can indicate death. It depends on where it's at. These two were exactly on top of one another. That's an indication of a situation that could go very bad very quickly. And it was up in what we call the midheaven. It's the highest point of the chart. Now, the highest point of the chart at the midheaven, you calm down and you don't go near this situation. Any astrologer would advise to that. And I think even in Princess Diana's chart, she had some stuff up at her midheaven that Diana's astrologer said, don't go on this trip. Whatever you do, don't go. That showed up in her chart. And then we have the event chart, which is what we did at the time that she 8:15 call. Saturn, which can be another indicator of death, was in bad aspect to, on her natal chart in the 8th house of death, Pluto. So not only did she have Uranus conjunct Pluto, Saturn was squaring that Pluto in the 8th house of death for Maddie. Okay, so then let's look again. The sun was conjunct to Chiron in the 12th house, which in an event chart, Chiron can indicate bodily harm, bodily injury in the 12th house where she was hidden. So that would have told us that story. You know, so there's a lot of things that we can pull out of a chart, and Patricia can say, I mean, once you find one thing, you see another and another and another. Mars was conjunct her natal chart to Venus and Uranus, with Mars in the 22nd degree. So we have Mars at play, we have Uranus at play, we have Saturn at play, and we have Pluto at play. All in bad aspect on that time, which was March 31st at 8:15 a.m. So, and here's Miss Patricia stating Pluto is called the destroyer and can really bring about, in an event chart and in forensic astrology, absolutely. And that means sudden death, Uranus, Pluto, which occurred to Maddie. So it was a sudden death at her midheaven, with the midheaven, the highest point of the chart. And Uranus was up at the top. Pluto was right there. Transiting Pluto was in her 8th house. Transiting Pluto was in her 8th house of death. So that's what you can get out of combining the natal chart with the event chart, and you can see the dynamics that occurred on March 31st. And that was the day that unfortunately this darling girl lost her life. And, you know, but this is how we use. I thought it would be very interesting to show you guys how we use forensic astrology to really help law enforcement, search and rescue, especially with the mapping, Tammy, and for search and rescue, and to answer some of the questions that you all have texted to me. Do I work on current cases? Absolutely, I do. And as many of you know that listen to True Crimes Beyond the Veil, when Rift Nation was, when we were on Blog Talk, I brought in a lot of our families, which is what I will be getting ready to do. I'm getting my space set up, so I will be bringing in our families, and they talk about the current cases that I've worked on or what is going on with their case. So that's what we do. And I hope you guys enjoyed that presentation. I found it most interesting because I love to go back after the fact of a case has been solved, and that way see where we would have been accurate, where if we were not accurate, and why. And Patricia says, I think if we could obtain a birth chart for this guy, that motive would easily be seen. You know, it was a DV situation, Patricia, and apparently it had been going on for quite a while. So unfortunately, yeah, that's a very sad ending. But in the meantime, these are the skills that we use to help. And we do. Yes, I do work on cases too. To answer that, Patricia also works on cases, and that's what we do. And Tammy says, Joni's right on the money. I hope all search and rescues ask for her help. They do. We do. They do. We do work with. We work with more search and rescue groups than we do law enforcement, and that's fine. That because 99.9% of search and rescue groups have to go through law enforcement. So where the search and rescue people get maps is entirely up to them. They don't need to know. But some do. Some police departments do. Absolutely. They use psychics. They also use forensic astrologers. Absolutely, they do. So that is the show this evening. Thank you so much for tuning in, you guys. And stay tuned because I will be back on at 8 at the Otter's Den with Keith. And we're going to go over Regulus, which is one of the royal stars. There are 4 royal stars, and they're all linked to an archangel. So Regulus is linked to Archangel Gabriel, I think, the green one. So we're going to go over that. We're going to go over the energy for the week and the full moon, which is ahead. So thank you guys so much, and tune in. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to subscribe. And I will see you guys a week after Labor Day. And I'm going to be working on a local murder. And this is an unsolved murder. And I'm going to go out and actually do a little bit of the filming of the area to give you guys a bird's eye view of this, what happened. So have a great weekend. Have a great week and a great Labor Day weekend. And I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Take care. And I think that's it. And if you're in Florida, like I said, be careful and watch the Weather Channel. So God bless and have a great evening. And don't forget this hand signal. Have a good evening. See you at 8.